So, my fellow SQ heads, I've been thinking about the next set of tests using the volume, acoustic energy, volume density learnings. And of course, we all know the backstory. I once waved my microphone around the center line and got very even stereo imaging. And the traditional way is you just wave it around your ears like this, and you measure your left speaker, and then you do it again and you measure your right speaker. And I compared that against my center line, and the imaging was better, and the graphs also show that the changes in the frequencies, certain frequencies, is only around the 6 to 8 dB, but it's enough to throw out your center imaging. If you had an ideal thing where you're looking, when you're just looking straight ahead at what you think your center is. So I look over my iPad. My iPad's about here, and I see all the frequencies in this tiny little spot here. And when you have a nice tight tuning, if I can get this to play ball, if you have a nice tight tuning, it's like every little frequency is in that one little spot. And when you have a bad tuning, some frequencies are in that spot, and some frequencies are in this spot, and some frequencies are in that spot. So you end up with a bigger patch. And if you have a really bad tune, you'll have a sound that comes out over here for an instrument, or a sound that comes out over here for another instrument. And a lot of the ways that I was listening and judging, I was not only listening for center imagery and how tight that ball was, because it's actually quite hard to listen for the tightness of that ball. So I was listening to things that were panned mid-left or mid-right, and then I'd change tunings, and if that tuning got a little bit wider, it meant that there was something up with that tune. There was a couple of frequencies stretching the tune, that therefore the centers would have been a little bit different in their width. But you can't really tell, but you can tell the sense of where your mid-lefts and mid-rights are. So that's kind of how you can decide between two different things that you're trialing. So now let's go back to where we were. We're at the center line, and then I discovered there was a product where a guy was waving around his iPhone, and he was measuring the cabin in slices. Now, whether it was 4 or 6 or 8 in the video he demoed, the app only shows 4 slices. I personally tried to recreate this with about 6 or 7 slices, just to be on the safe side. I was copying what he did in the video, and this tune outperformed this tune with that mid-left, mid-right stability and width. So the thinner the width, the better the tune. And this is what I now roll with. And I recently, discovered that the company's technology they borrowed to use that in the Alpine product was the Elix Prism technology. And I've still yet to verify whether in the Alpine world they actually bothered to do a left-right tune with this, whether they just did a one-time tonal tune. And if that's the case, then all they're really doing is getting a nice tonal balance, like in the tone, making it just feel like more natural. They're not trying to get the center dialed in. And in fact, inside the Optimate processor they're describing, it's purely, all the timing is set manually, with standard delays. So yeah, I'll probably have to look into that a bit further down the track, get my hands on one. Anyway, so in this video, what was I going to talk about? Yeah, I'm going to try a new microphone technique shootout. I'm going to try a weird shit like this. I'm going to measure the left of the cabin by waving my mic like this, counting to 20, waving my mic at the next segment, counting to 20, then calling that side done, and then I'm going to do the other side, counting to 20, and then doing this side, counting to 20. Because in the Elix manual, they talk about the first plane being, a certain distance from the speaker, and then the next line and the next line and the next line, kind of like this, but just that first few waves and in a concave fashion. And we'll see how that sounds. So I'll do all my A/B testing. And I also wanted to do one where I just concentrated, getting as even as I can in one half, and then capturing that, calling it the left, and then do the same amount of time and the same amount of coverage and capture that on the right. Now, all of these are assumed, as far down as possible and up to the ceiling, so that goes without saying. And for whatever reasons, I'm going to try a few other random ones. So everyone knows about the wave around your ear, in front of your nose kind of thing. I'm going to try one where I at least do this head height in like a 20 centimeter thick tube, and not going all the way to the ceiling and not going all the way down to your knees. And I'm going to try that. I'm going to try, because in my last set of tests, I already tried this, whole square to the ceiling and to your knees. That was called big box. And that had left-right pull-aways. So what else could I try? Yeah, I also wanted just to see, just out of curiosity, what, say, if you divided everything into quarters and just look on a graph, what that would be compared to, say, that on a graph, floor to ceiling. What were some of the different energies that you would find in different areas, just sort of academically, Or also do the Alpine technique of the left speaker and measure that and keep that separate as a separate graph. Measure this separately, keep it as a separate graph. Measure that separately as a separate graph, etc. And see whether the energy of those slices is fairly uniform, because like this one will be still maybe measuring over here, and maybe they didn't intend for this slice. Like I said, they weren't doing a left right, so this slice is maybe not appropriate for measuring that speaker, and vice versa. Yeah, so I'll leave that there and hopefully get some more data, and I'll have a big think about the kind of things I want to capture in these new tests. And I also remember now, instead of just a center line, I want to do a fat center line. So it's almost like two slices of the Alpine plus the middle. All right, catch you later.